right, you've got one day in the books for outdoor baseball in Tampa Bay. One day in, not so bad.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But the best way to get a hold of me is right here if you're watching me on the YouTubes. Also, check out the In Memoriam video that I produced this week. Hopefully, some of you have seen it already. I'm pretty proud of it. It will, if you're a baseball fan, hopefully it will bring a couple of tears to your eyes as we remember some of the greats we lost in the last year, including Ricky Henderson and Fernando Valenzuela and Orlando Cepeda, and of course, Willie Mays. We're doing a live one here on Saturday morning. Riley, what up? He's an everyday Sully. If you're listening to us every day or you watch us every day, you post something on there, put that hashtag everyday Sully. You get an idea of who is following us. Hey, Jet Blacks, Onyx is here, as always. And where are you? Nelson da Silva Fernandez is listening to us from Brazil. Well, welcome. Welcome. We are all here. No matter where you are, you are welcome here. By the way, I found out the In Memoriam video that I produced is restricted in one country, Russia. No one in Russia can watch the In Memoriam video, and I think that's a shame because I think they would all enjoy it. We get a couple of things done here. First of all, the trivia question. The trivia question I asked was, who started the first ever game for the Florida Marlins? And apparently that was an easy one because a lot of you got it. I'm gonna go Jerry Govert. Sorry, Charlie Huff. Love the old knuckleballers. Yeah, the oldest pitcher was pitching for the newest franchise, and Charlie Huff was throwing those knuckleballs up. We got to bring back the knuckleball. Sorry, did a little cough there. I can't stress that enough. We need to bring back knuckleballers. We need to train knuckleballers. We need to find knuckleballers. Knuckleballers used to be able to throw for like 35 years, give you 300 innings a year. Their arm would be ready to go. And the bullpen was able to take a night off, and it would mess up hitters' swings. Come on, let's bring back the knuckleballers, please. Now, let's go through. Let's see who owned baseball yesterday. If you follow Sully Baseball on Blue Sky or on Instagram and or just the website Sully Baseball, I do Who Owns Baseball, where we determine who gets a full WOB, which is the best American League and National League hitter for a winning team, and American League National League pitcher for a winning team, and half WOB for the same on a losing team each night. At the end of the year, we see who has the highest total. It's my own little metric. Earning full WOBs yesterday, Mookie Betts hit a pair of home runs, including a 3-run walk-off shot in the 10th. We'll get to that. Jonah Heim homered twice as the Rangers topped the Red Sox. Mitch Keller threw 6 strong innings, allowed only 1 run. He struck out 4 Marlins, and the Pirates won 4-3. And Jeffrey Springs fanned 9 over 6 innings, a 3-hit ball as Sacramento beat Seattle. Half WOBs go to Hunter Brown. He threw 6 strong innings. No one saw it because it was on Apple TV, but he allowed 2 earned runs, but one of them was a home run to Juan Soto. The Mets won that one 3-1 over the Astros. Dylan Dingler, who will later be played by Mark Wahlberg, homered and added another hit, but the Tigers lost to the Dodgers in extra innings. Kyle Freeland held the Rays to 2 hits over 6 shutout innings. We'll talk to that. The Rockies blew that game. And Ryan McMahon got on base 4 times in the aforementioned Rockies 3-2 loss to the Rays. Let's talk about that game first, because that was played. That's, I think, in some ways was the most interesting games of all that happened yesterday. It was the first day for the Rays playing outdoors in George Steinbrenner Field. There's some things that are kind of oddly appropriate and symbolic about that. That the Rays have always kind of been in the shadow of the Yankees and the Yankee fandom in Florida. So naturally, their home field is George Steinbrenner Field. Go figure. The Rocks played them, and as I mentioned before, Kyle Freeland was wonderful. Allowed 2 hits and 7 strikeouts. Didn't walk anybody. Really solid performance. He threw 67 pitches, so I guess they didn't want to stretch him too far. Maybe you could have stretched him to 70 because Tyler Kinney came right up and coughed up the lead. The Rockies bullpen allowed 3 runs in the final few innings, and the game ended on a walk-off lead-off home run by Cameron Meisner. And Cameron Meisner hit the first pitch out of the park and won the game. By the way, Mickey, I didn't realize this until I was watching the game yesterday. Mickey Moniak, who was a former number 1 overall draft pick, who was cut by the Angels, was playing for the Rockies. So that happened. I said, wait, the Rockies got him? But good move on Mickey Moniak. If you want to say, hey, I want to show I can hit on a major league level, sign with Colorado. But I digress. Cameron Meisner, who was only playing because he was the 3rd person in the number 5 slot for the Rays. Christopher Morel, former Cub, was there. And then he was pinch hit for by Jonathan Aranda. And Cameron Meisner came in as a defensive replacement and wound up hitting a walk-off home run in front of 10,000 fans on opening day. By the way, that was his first first major league home run and his second major league hit. He got 1 hit last year he played in about half a dozen games last year for the Rays. He got 1 hit. And so now he has doubled his hit total to 2 and raised his OPS to 438. His OPS this year is 5,000. Chances are that will go down. But he was Cameron Meisner came up, hit the walk-off home run. Everybody was happy. And it was a great first fun day at Steinbrenner Field for the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, the rest of the day, look, it was fun. It was fun. I watched that game. It was a fun game. You could not get into the game. I don't have a dog in the fight between the Rays and the Rockies. I don't dislike either team. I'm not a fan of either team. I would like to see the Rockies win the World Series. Do you know why? They never have. And I'm always for teams that have never won the World Series to win one. Same thing with the Tampa Bay Rays. I would love to see the Rays win the World Series. Why? They've never won one. That kind of works that way. That's how I am wired. I like teams to win their first ever World Series title. But of course, there are rumblings going on with Tampa. They're playing in a minor league stadium, which one day in seems fine, but it doesn't look like this is not a long-term solution, obviously, crashing on the Yankees' couch. And the feelings that are going on between the current ownership and the city of St. Petersburg and Pinellas County and all of them is getting nastier and nastier, if that's even possible. The ship has sailed, I think, for St. Petersburg, at least with this ownership, because it has become so acrimonious and so contentious that if you watch Brody Brazil is one of my favorite follows on YouTube. He does great stuff about behind the scenes in baseball. And he pointed out the other day that the city of St. Petersburg and Pinellas County are starting to bill the Rays for the work that they all put in for the stadium that will never be built in the deal that the Rays proposed and the county and city voted yes on and the Rays pulled out of. And say, hey, you're gonna pick up the tab for this. You did this. You pulled out of it. You broke it. You buy it. And everyone is saying, we're not going to work with this ownership group. We're not going to work with this ownership group. And the current ownership group doesn't seem to want to work with them, nor seem to be willing to sell the team right now. However, if you're Tampa, if you're Ybor City or anyone else where anywhere else where a stadium probably should be built, why would you work with this ownership who pulled the rug out from underneath the deal that they proposed? I understand their extenuating circumstances, but there must be ways to do that that are not this contentious. You see that Arizona was having some issues with their stadium, and that could have turned into something bad, and it didn't. They figured something out. Excuse me, there was a little spittle in my mouth. That was gross. And so when you're seeing, they're panning around a minor league stadium. Obviously, it's a short-term fix, but what's the long-term fix? And they were panning around and they were starting to see the fans holding up the sell signs. I did Locked On A's all last year. I've been to a lot of A's games. I was there for the absolutely brutal and totally unnecessary dismantling of the Oakland Athletics and the creation of the Sacramento Athletics, which is what they are. And please, everyone, call them that. And don't put this athletics. There's no city attached to them. They're the Athletics. They play in Sacramento. Stop this nonsense. Now, I do believe people want to have the team stay there, but they want them at their own terms, and the Rays set the terms and then backed out of it. It's tough to negotiate with someone like that. And I also know when those signs start showing up and the people start pointing their fingers, to paraphrase the Joker in The Dark Knight, there's no going back. So I do believe that if Sternberg sells the team, I've said this before. I have nothing against the people of St. Petersburg. I have nothing against the people of Pinellas County. That was the wrong place to put a ballpark. They built it there in the mid-1980s. It was the wrong place. Everyone kept saying it's the wrong place. It's the wrong place. It's the wrong place. They should have built it in downtown Tampa. They would be supporting the team much like they support the Tampa Bay Lightning. But if a new ownership comes in, it has to happen soon because this can't continue. This really can't. And there has to be some plan in place because holy Toledo, it is not going to work to have two teams be in a minor league stadium for the long haul. We come back, we're going to talk about the second night of the Sacramento A's, which the first two nights of them, I have to say, look pretty positive. Hey, let's talk about our friends over at Game Time. You know all about Game Time, right? Game Time is where you need to go to get your tickets right. There's no better feeling than catching a Major League Baseball game live. I'm going to be going to a game. I'm probably going to a Sacramento game in just a couple of weeks. And I am going to have the new experience of seeing the Sacktown A's play in their new ballpark. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute, all-in pricing, lowest price guaranteed, Game Time takes the stress out of buying baseball tickets throughout Major League Baseball. Plus, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you get an incredible deal. Now, Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On. And let me tell you, it helped me get my tickets last year when I saw the Dodgers clinch the National League pennant against the New York Mets. And I got a great deal, pretty close to the time of the game. And I have all sorts of perks. Like I got to see from my seat. And so I got to preview it. I have no surprises when you get there. You get unbeatable prices. You got to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, the lowest prices. Do you know what they are? I'll tell you what they are. They are guaranteed. I hit the wrong button there. Sometimes that happens. I'm getting my own buttons here. The Sacramento A's played their second game. The last three games of the Oakland A's were in Seattle. The first three games of the Sacramento A's are in Seattle. It's it works out that way. The Sacramento played Seattle last night, and this time it was all A's. It was all A's. For the second straight day, a newly acquired uh, pitcher, which the A's had to sign, otherwise they'd be facing grievances by the Players Association for pocketing their revenue sharing stream. But for whatever motivation they had for signing him, Severino pitched great, 6 shutout innings in the first game. Jeffrey Springs, 6 shutout innings this time. This time the bullpen did their job through three scoreless innings, the last 2 by Mitch Spence. But the other thing that happened was the A's bats woke up. They got 12 hits altogether, plus they walked 5 times. So they got on base, 17 times, and they scored 7 runs. Lawrence Butler looked great. He wound up getting a double and walked, which is what you want for the leadoff spot. Brent Rooker hit his first home run of the year, a 2-run shot that put the A's on the board in the 5th inning. And they really woke up in the 7th inning. 7th inning, the A's with, I think it was with 2 outs. Yeah, there were 2 outs, and this drives me crazy in terms of strategy. I have nothing against the Mariners. I would love to see the Mariners win the World Series, but with 2 outs and 2 on, the Mariners brought in a new pitcher, Tyler Saucedo. I don't know. It's the first time in my life I've said his name. If I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. Who immediately led up an infield hit to J.J. Bleday, who scored. Then Langoliers came in, and he got an RBI single. And then Tyler Soderstrom hit a ground rule double. And next thing you know, a 2-0 game turned into a 5-0 game. Let me tell you what drove me crazy about that. Again, I was pulling for Sacramento because part of me wants to see the A's win the pennant and force them to play in a minor league stadium. I find that funny. But I also have a huge soft spot in my heart for the Mariners. And I think I would love to see the Mariners win the World Series because they've never even played in one. But I'll never understand this strategy. You got 2 outs. And Bizzardo just struck out Brent Rooker. That's a huge strikeout. The A's best slugger just struck him out, have a little momentum, and then you stop the game and you bring in another reliever. Now, Bizzardo just got out their best slugger. And then he could face Bleday, where an out, a pop-up, a grounder, anything ends the inning with a little bit of momentum, and you don't have to burn through another pitcher. But no, because of whatever we're doing with pitching these days, you're never allowing a pitcher to work out of a jam. You're never allowing a pitcher that has a pitching with a certain amount of momentum behind them to get out of a jam. You always have to have this giant parade of relievers with the assumption that every reliever is going to do their job. Bizzardo just did his job big time by striking out Rooker. Why not have him face Bleday? And Bizzardo was apparently, you could tell he was mad. He threw the rosin back down. Like, let me get through this. But no. The spreadsheet says we have to bring this other guy who turned a 2-0 game into a 5-0 game. It's always under the assumption that this other person is going to do everything perfectly, when this other pitcher is doing his job. I will never understand that mentality. And I've said this before. If it's 2 outs and nobody on, listen to me, 2 outs, nobody on. If you take your pitcher out when it's 2 outs and nobody on, your team loses a first-round draft pick. Not a compensation. You lose if you're the number 1 pick overall. You don't have it. We're just going to skip you. Or you're fined $5 million every time you take a pitcher out with 2 outs and nobody on. That's insane. Let the pitcher finish the freaking inning. Maybe this is part of what we need to start doing. So we have to have a call for knuckleballers to sort of come in and be a pitcher who can give you innings. This parade of relievers is going to wear down teams at the end of the year. I mean, you're seeing it. If your pitchers are only going 5, then then you have 4 relievers coming in every freaking game. Eventually, they're going to be exhausted at the end of the year. Why not? And again, I know I'm talking crazy talk here, but maybe scout players not just because, hey, they throw fast good. And eventually your arm is not designed to do that. You got middle relievers throwing 100 miles an hour. Your arm's not designed to do that. Remember, you used to be a freak when you threw 100 miles an hour? Maybe, I don't know, develop pitchers with off speed stuff and junk ballers and knuckleballers. Greg Maddux would never be able to pitch today. No way. That's not no he no throw fast. He no go deep in games. It's fifth inning. Greg not smart to go through that. You would develop intelligence of pitchers and get me through this inning. Get me through seven. I'm not saying have every pitcher throw 90. I'm not saying being Dusty Baker with Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood or Billy Martin when he had those wonderful pitchers with the A's at the beginning of the 1980s and drove all of them into the ground. There's a midpoint between God, it's 7-6. He's thrown 180 pitches and he's still out there. And well, it's 5 and a third innings. You've thrown your 64 pitches. Let's bring in the same 5 people every single day. There's a mid ground. And maybe part of that is work your way out of that. Learn how to work your way out of that. You just struck out their best hitter. Get that last guy out and start and build a little momentum. Instead, a 2-0 game turned into a 5-0 game. Am I wrong? Tell me if I'm wrong. I beg you, tell me why I am. We come back, we're going to talk a little bit about that other team that I'm accused of talking about too often. All right, we're going to talk about our friends over at Prize Picks. The baseball season is easy for you to say, and there's no better way to get in the action with Prize Picks, which is the daily place for fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you can pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 100 times your cash. Whether it's strikeouts, RBI, first inning runs, Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to load up my lineup with White Sox. You know why? They're playing the Angels, and I don't trust their pitching. And if I did that the other day, I would have cleaned up. And I'm always going to put Brent Rooker in there because he always seems to come up with a big hit. So put him in, and you may win a few bucks. Look, setting up a lineup takes less than 60 seconds. When you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. And I always take advantage of Taco Tuesday, where PrizePicks offers discounts on player projections for even more value. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Hey, be sure I'd be sure to catch Booney in Locked On A's and check out Ulysses and Locked On Rays. I mean, if you want to have more in-depth looks at some of the teams I'm talking about here, the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day, covers every single team. There's a show for all the teams. If you want to go in depth on some of them, please check them out because all the hosts are doing great stuff. And I don't agree with them. We sometimes debate and get into arguments, but that's part of the fun of doing this. So check out all the great shows on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. I've been really loving being here since the 2019 season. Boy, that seems like a long time ago. But thanks so much for making this your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On MLB season previews, every contender, every division, everything you need to know. Find all 6 episodes here on the Locked On MLB channel on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Yeah, those Dodgers are pretty good, aren't they? Dodgers look pretty good. They haven't lost yet. And you got to give the Tigers a little bit of credit because they played them very, very well. They kept coming back. Dodgers' old friend Flaherty pitched well, but Mookie Betts, God, why can't the Red Sox get players like him? Hit 2 go-ahead home runs, including the walk-off shot, and the Dodgers, yikes, they look great. They have the gold uniforms they're wearing because this is the ring ceremony week that they have, and they're having the gold on their unis to represent the previous World Series. I remember in 2005 when the Red Sox won the World Series the previous year. If you forgot about that, ask a Boston fan anything, and eventually it will come up. They had the same thing where they had the gold Red Sox and the gold B hat. Can I make a suggestion? Have the defending World Series champion wear those every year. Have that be their uniform for the whole year. Have the Dodgers have the gold Dodger and the gold LA on their hat all year long. That should be a perk of winning the World Series. You get to wear the gold letters. That'll be part of the lexicon. Come on, let's do this and earn our gold letters. Always remind you who the defending champs are. Now, that would have been awkward in 1998 when the Florida Marlins won the World Series the previous year and totally dismantled the team and lost 100 games the next year with a bunch of minor leaguers on the field, and to see them with the gold letters. But do you know what? You are the champs until you're not. And I think they do that for most of the team. I remember the Giants when they won, at least one of their years, they had that. Have that be part of it. You win the World Series, you get the gold letters the next year. I know the Yankees will probably not do that because there's no what Yankees do. It's turning into Cookie Monster. Let's see what some of the people was saying. Cheryl Cosmo. Cheryl Cosmos. Have you heard of the movie Ephus? I have. Features Bill Lee, has been showing in the Boston area. I was out of town, but Lee and Shaughnessy appeared showing Newton, Mass, where I live. Hey, Newton. I know a lot of people from Newton, and I've been to Newton many, many times. Yes, I know everything film-wise about Bill Lee. In fact, there is a documentary called Spaceman, A Baseball Odyssey. The great Brett Rapkin directed that, and which is about Bill Lee, his life, and him going to Cuba to play with kind of a seniors league. And then also there's a feature film featured Josh Duhamel as Bill Lee called Spaceman, which Brett Rapkin also made. The interesting thing about both of those movies is I'm in both of them. I'm in Spaceman, the Baseball Odyssey, the documentary. I'm a talking head in that one, talking about Bill Lee. And I have a small part in the film where I have a scene where Josh Duhamel and I wrestle in the Spaceman movie where I play Sully the Mailman. That's right. I really stretch as an actor. I play Sully the Mailman. But yes, I love anything with Bill Lee on the big screen. Riley says, A+ In Memoriam video. Yeah, and if you haven't seen the In Memoriam video, the link for it is in the YouTube comments here. All right, in the YouTube description. Forgot about Maddux, and as an Orioles fan, that hurt. Yeah, that's the thing when I put these together is every once in a while I go like, oh man, I forgot they died, or I didn't even know they died. Yeah, it's and occasionally I try to get as many people in as I can, and no matter what someone says, you forgot this one. I say, I know. It's you go make one. Jet Black Onyx says Wilbur Wood would start both games of a doubleheader. I'm telling you, developing knuckleballers is going to be the key. They'll give you 7-8 innings a game, gives the bullpen a day off, screws up the swings of the other team, and you get 250 innings out of them, and it doesn't blow their arm out. Let's start doing that, folks. I know it's harder to do, but do you know what? What's working now it's not working now. You just know when there's a great pitcher, you just hold your breath knowing when is the Tommy John going to happen? When's it going to happen for Paul Skeens? Yeah. Am I wrong? And of course, Henry Roan Jr. sees my Turkey Stearns poster in the back. Yep, he is a legend, and he's a Hall of Famer. Let's go to the trivia question today. The trivia question is Yankee related. There are 3 people in the history of the Yankees who have done the following 2 things. Played in the World Series, not just be on the roster, but play in the World Series for a World Series champion Yankee team and manage the Yankees to a World Series championship. 3 people have done that. Played for a World Series champion Yankee team, and then later managed the Yankees to a World Series title. Who are the 3 people to do that? And you know it's not Aaron Boone, because he didn't win a World Series with them in 2003, and he hasn't won one now as a manager. So let me know. That's the trivia question. Put it right down there. And follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever they're calling it these days. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But just leave your messages right here on the YouTube comments. Talking about a fun opening day, but rumblings in Tampa. That Sacramento looks like they may have a winner or something else. Doing it live, folks, and the Dodgers looking pretty good. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.